to make a video about falling because after lockdown I was absolutely terrified of falling, particularly on lead, but I've spoken to other people that had the same thing, falling on top rope. I think for a lot of people it's coming back to climbing after being on lockdown and not being able to climb for a while. So you just kind of build up this fear of falling and you're terrified that you're going to hurt yourself, and it's just a really horrible sensation. You feel really tense and it just ruins climbing, and you can't climb anywhere near your full ability because you're just terrified all of the time. So I wanted to make a video about falling because I think the main thing that's helped me get over that fear, and it is lots of things, it's not just one thing, but definitely a big thing has been doing full practice. So we wanted to do a video about it just to show how we do full practice and how it's helped me in particular to get over those hurdles. So I should give a disclaimer first, which is that all I'm doing here is telling you how I do full practice and how it's helped me. If you're going to go out and do full practice, you need to do it with someone that is a trusted belayer and you know where to choose to do full practice and you're completely safe in what you're doing. So just by watching this video I wouldn't say now go out and do full practice, but it's just to tell you the process that I go through and how I do full practice. So maybe not wisely, one of the first things I did coming out of lockdown was jump on my first 7A project. Even though I was terrified of leading and I've never climbed 7A before. So that was really challenging. And I did a lot of full practice on it. I probably went to climb it once a week, or more than once a week, like 2 or 3 times a week for about a month, I think. And I always did full practice on it before I even tried to climb it. I would use a clip stick, get the clips in, and then do full practice on it. And the way I started, and now still start when I do full practice, which is a lot of the time, I only take really tiny falls to start with. So I literally don't even go above the bolt. I'll go below where the bolt is, take a really tiny fall, maybe go up and do another one exactly the same place, and then just gradually increase that fear so that I'm going a little bit higher above the bolt each time until I'm really comfortable falling and all those nerves and anxiety have gone, and then I'll try the climb. And that took a long time to get to that point, and I still have to keep doing full practice, so it's not like a magical answer. But I think I would just say, for me, it's really important not to just jump on a climb and climb way above a bolt and throw myself off, because that's not going to make me feel better about it. It has to be this kind of gradual step up. The other thing I'll say about screwballs is that the thing I wouldn't recommend is doing full practice on the second clip. I'd say you should be doing it 3rd or 4th clip or higher, because you don't want to hit the ground. And if your belay gives you a soft catch and you're at a bolt lower to the ground, there is a chance that you might hit the ground. So I wouldn't normally recommend doing that. On screwboard, I did take falls at the second clip, but that's because in this situation, the first clip is really high off the ground. So you're not close, you're not at risk of decking it at all. But also for me, the crux begins at the second clip. So where I was most nervous and where I was worried about taking a fall was at that clip. So the full practice had to be there. But I assessed the situation, I wasn't going to hit anything, I wasn't that close to the ground, and I trusted my belayer. So I was okay to do full practice there. And this is the clips that I'm now going to show you. So I would say something that I learned from doing screwboard, but also from projecting Pearl Harbor as well, is that when I was working on screwboard, I stayed on second for way too long because I was really scared of falling. So I kept doing the moves over and over again on second, but then when I eventually did come to red point it and to lead, it was completely different, and I basically had to start all over again. So although I got really comfortable seconding, it didn't in any way help me then lead. The thing that helped me was doing the full practice so that I could try the moves and learn the route actually on lead rather than doing it on second. And when I did Pearl Harbor, I did in a lot less sessions, and that's because I pretty much seconded it in the first session and then started leading it also in the first session and learning it on lead. And that's why it took probably about half the time to actually send the project. So I would just say, fine, like second a project to get the moves the first time you climb it, if that's what you want to do, but don't get stuck on second. Start leading, get confident falling, and you'll get the project much quicker, in my opinion, or in my experience. So the other progression with taking climbing falls and leading falls is to go from climbing up above the bolt, getting yourself ready, and then letting go and falling back is like one of the first stages. What you want to then move on to is being able to go for a move and let go mid-move, or go for a hold and then act as if you've missed that hold and you haven't managed to grab it. And that's what I started to do on Pearl Harbor, where just at the end of the crux, originally I started doing it quite dynamically, so I would literally have to throw up to a hold above the bolt, which I found quite terrifying. So I did full practice actually going for the jump and going for the hold, and either just not grabbing it or grabbing it and letting go immediately, just to make sure I could reach it. And that was quite a big step up for me. I think on the attempt I had on Pearl Harbor just before I sent it, which was probably the first proper big fall I took on a project, where it was literally that. I just got up to the move, got up to the hold, couldn't do it, and fell down, not under control, not a choice to let go, but just it happened to me. And but it was fine. I fell into air, it was quite comfortable, it was a nice fall, it was a nice catch. So that actually gave me a lot of confidence. So being able to take falls like that mid-climbing, not a static, okay, I'm going to let go now, is quite a big difference in taking falls. A really important element to consider when you're about to take on full practice is what climb you're going to be doing it on, because not all routes or types of rock are the best for doing full practice on. So when I choose a route, or choose to start doing full practice on something, I'm looking for something that is enough above the ground that I'm confident that I'm not going to hit the ground, even if my B-leg gives me a little bit of a soft catch. It's overhanging by at least a little bit, so that if I fall back, I fall into air rather than hitting the rock. That there's no ledges or rocks jutting out that I'm likely to hit. But also I check the bolts, I check that nothing is going to go wrong. And that's partly part of your risk assessment that you should be making, but it also mentally helps, because what you don't want to be doing when you're taking falls is going through your mind, am I going to hit the ground, is the bolt going to hold, am I going to hit a ledge? You don't want those thoughts. You want to know that you've assessed the situation, you know it's a safe fall, you can tell yourself it's okay to fall because I'm just going to fall into air. And that's quite an important mental process to go through as well. The other thing you need to be very aware of is where the rope is, and being sure that you don't have your leg behind the rope when you fall. Otherwise you can end up with rope burn, you can end up with a broken leg if you're really unlucky. So you have to be very aware of the rope and manage the rope. And again, that's part of your mental process of knowing that if I fall, the rope is not going to catch me off or tip me upside down. Sometimes that does happen. That happened to me on Screwball when I took a fall quite close to the bolt and only at the second bolt, so I hit the rope. But also on Pearl Harbor, I had to very mentally manage the rope, so that when I was above that bolt, after I went for the throw move, I then had to very consciously move my feet to make sure the rope wasn't caught around my ankle, because if I had taken a fall then I would have injured myself quite significantly. So you do have to take a lot of factors into account when you're doing full practice, and when you're climbing in general, to be honest, but particularly when you're doing full practice.